Well, if you can, no, it's not actually. It is. And I'll tell you why it's not.
It's subjective, totally.
I'll tell you why it's not. I think that there are things within it that in reality, if a linguist, somebody who is an expert of classical Arabic language, and there are many non-Muslims, by the way, and that when they look at that, they realise that the very composition itself is impossible for. Yeah. Okay.
You're proud of that. You're proud of that. You're proud of that.
Everyone believes in Jesus.
I mean, it's unfortunate. I know it's so difficult to have a conversation. I know. I thought we could have a nice conversation. Oh, he's calling us over there. Anis, don't go too far because you need to keep an eye on the cameras and stuff, innit? You're on your own, aren't you? Is this all right? Is it? Are we okay here? Just have this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. So,
we're talking about that.
Yeah.
I mean, firstly, I think you can get some. Yeah, right. You can look at, say, a work of fiction, literary work of fiction, and you can make up those same criteria. But even if you've never found something like it, firstly, that doesn't mean that the original was from God. And secondly, it's subjective because there are subjective claims in there saying, "Oh, it has to have had this profound significance" or something like this.
The most profound choice of words.
Something like that, yeah, which is subjective. I mean, I could get the world's best artist, get him to make a painting, and then I can put him in a dungeon, and I can show this painting, and I can say to people, this was painted by God. If you don't believe me, make a painting that's like it, and nobody would be able to do it.
Or better it, equal to it, or better it.
Yes, and that would, but then even if nobody could equal or better it, that wouldn't necessarily mean the original.
No, look. So the examples that you've provided, I would accept that would be the case, right? And the reason why I would accept that is that we recognise those things, like paintings and sculptures or whatever, and books, for example, in a very different way, right? From Revelation, I think it's very different. And I'll tell you why.
Well, Revelation is subjective.
Of course, but I'll tell you why. On the one side, a painting from our own experience is truly a very subjective thing, even amongst the specialists or the experts in painting. No, but let me just get to the point. So, for example, if an artist did make that claim, there would be almost immediately mass disagreements within artists themselves who would pick other paintings to be either superior or equal to. You understand my point? Now, why I believe that this argument is a lot stronger and it's very different is that we have had and have linguists who are familiar with the Arabic language and the Quranic classical Arabic language and have actually said that this is a unique way of even writing the language itself. Even the grammar itself is unique to the Quran. It didn't exist prior to, and it has never been able to be duplicated. We have linguists themselves who are saying that the very words of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the Quranic Arabic are unique, they're different. The language is different from the language of the Arabs at the time. Yet it uses the same letters and the same words, and in some cases comes up with a different word with actually a more eloquent way of explaining. So it comes with new words, in fact, right?
Although, I mean, they could say this, how the Quran resembles pre-Islamic poetry.
Yes.
Was the Quran plagiarized from others?
Yeah, of course. So we can look at these claims.
There are people who make the claims.
Of course they do. I'm not saying that people don't make the claim. What I'm saying is that the only way of ascertaining whether those claims are actually, they hold any weight is that you would at least get some consensus within academia themselves. They wouldn't be fringe opinions.
Well, I wouldn't say these ones are fringe.
Well, from my investigation, from what I've please do send them to me. But from of course, yeah, yes, not a problem at all, right? So for example, I would look at non-Muslim academics on the subject, like Professor Angelica Newith and others. No, of course not.
Well, then maybe it wasn't that convincing.
No, but look, the point I'm trying to make to you here is this. There are many people who saw the Prophet, peace be upon him, themselves. Many who didn't accept Islam, despite seeing what we would argue is the miracle of the Quran. And by the way, agreeing that it was outside the capacity of human beings and still not accepting the Quran or accepting Islam.
If they thought that,
yeah.
But I mean, okay, but surely a God would make it so that it's.
Oh well, that's
it's not
again.
Ambiguous.
What I'm saying is that look, for me, I don't believe it is ambiguous, and that's perhaps because in a very non-academic way, let's say, I've studied it to some extent, and for me, it's actually quite overwhelming. The claim that it's being made in terms of its uniqueness, its structure, the language itself being unique, and not only. Look, to some extent, I would say, to some extent. There is going to be a level of subjectivity in terms of how you personally interpret something.
Yes.
But where that subjectivity is reduced is when you start getting mass consensus of people who agree to a particular, a conclusion about something. And by the way, I'm not just talking about Muslims here. I'm talking about non-Muslims as well. And look, we all operate by balance of probability, let's be honest, right? So if we have an overwhelming consensus, including non-Muslim consensus, I think the argument becomes much more robust and forceful than if it is just, a bunch of Muslims saying something. I think the manner in which the Quran is revealed, for me, is outside the capacity of human, what you would expect from a human being as well.
I would disagree. But
I'll explain to you why I believe that.
I mean, there's all the revelations which are convenient. The convenient revelations which just come at the right time.
Yeah.
Very self-serving ones. The ones that only apply to Muhammad's words.
Well, okay, let's look at that.
So,
not a problem. Look, the Quran we know through the testimony of many thousands of companions was revealed over 23 years, from 40 to 63.
Yeah.
The revelation came down often consequential. So an event unfolds, or somebody asks a question, and a few verses are revealed.
Yeah. That's your explanation.
That's our explanation. And of course, the way that we establish that explanation to hold any credence is the way that we would justify anything that has happened in history, which is valid, multiple, testable, testimony.
Sure.
Right? So how do we know about Christopher Columbus? How do we know about, President Lincoln? Or if we even go back further, how do we know about any of these people or what they did? Of course, it would be multiple. Yeah, multiple.
None of them were supernatural claims.
I agree, but I'm saying our ability to become sure or very confident about those historical events is based upon multiple attested or testable testimony. That's how we effectively weigh up evidence from history, right? So that's how we would arrive at that conclusion. Now, what we have is over nearly 80,000 words being revealed over 23 years.